Hey everyone, it's Shelby, the conservative bookworm. Today is episode 3 of my book reviews of just continuing books, so books that I'm picking up off the library shelf. This one, lately I've been picking up books that are relatively new, so off more of the juvenile fiction shelf that's like the new fiction in my local library. So what I want to talk about today is a book that I just finished a few days ago. It's called Echo by Pam Munoz-Ryan, and I read this book as an ebook through my library's ebook program on my Kindle. So awesome program. If you haven't looked that up, you should, because it's very convenient for those of us who can't always go to the library exactly when we wish. So this is the book I'm showing you right here. Go by Pam Munoz-Ryan. It's a Newbery Honor book. Awesome book. I am a fan of this author. She's written several that I've really enjoyed. One of those is on my top 10 list is Esperanza Rising. She wrote that. So this book is a little different. I mean, it's similar in some ways, but it's a little different because it kind of has a fairy tale element to it. It is about 3 children / teenagers who are living in pre-World War II, World War II era. So it follows, there's 3 sections, and each section is about one of those children. And each section ends on a cliffhanger. So the book is even though it's pretty thick, it's pretty fast-paced because you're just like reading and you really get involved in these kids' stories and you want to know what happens, and it ends on a cliffhanger and then you have to go to the next story. So you really have to go to the end to find out, like all the way to the end to find out what happens to each of these 3 kids. So the first child, or I'm going to call it, he's like a teenager, is a young man living in Germany, pre-World War II Germany, so 1930s Germany, and Hitler's in power. He's, I think, about to become the chancellor, and this young man has a birthmark on his face, so he and his father are a little worried about what's going to happen to him because of that, because of the Nazis, all about pure race, and anyone with some kind of disability or any kind of facial or bodily abnormality was considered not worth living, or was not allowed to have children. So those elements do come up. There isn't any violence really in the book. But there's a lot. The book really does mention, it talks a lot about racism, it talks a lot about discrimination, and talks a lot about just the atmosphere of that time as far as, people not just in Germany, but with the other 2 children in America as well. Because the first story is about a boy in Germany. The second story is about a boy and his little brother who are orphans in America, in Pennsylvania. And then the third story is about, and that's around the same time, maybe a little bit later. The third one is about a young girl living in California, and she is of Mexican heritage, but she's American. And they all experience discrimination of some kind. The orphan boys, because they are orphans and because they look poor, so they're discriminated against. The third one is about the third story talks about discrimination because of her Mexican heritage in California, and also discrimination towards Japanese, being put in Japanese internment camps in America during World War II, at the beginning of World War II. So all of these things, very serious topics, but they're all kind of told through children's eyes, or young people's eyes at the time. So really, really well written, really beautiful story. The whole point of the story, what brings all these 3 together, is not just what they experience as far as discrimination and stuff, is they have a there's a magical harmonica. I know it sounds funny. I was like, a harmonica? Like what? Couldn't they have chosen, she could have chosen a more romantic instrument. But there was a harmonica factory in Germany. And so the beginning of the story kind of starts off with a fairy tale, and this harmonica is kind of given this special tone, basically. And I'm not going to give it away, but there is a little bit of magic at the beginning and the end, mostly at the beginning. But really the main gist of the story is these three children and this harmonica, and their love of music and their love of playing this harmonica kind of ties them all together, but they don't meet each other. It's just kind of separate stories, but the harmonica kind of links them all. So really, really great story. Nothing wrong with it, no red flags really. I mean, there is some more serious topics discussed, so I would put it probably a little older than like 8, 9, or 10, maybe more like 11, 12, 13 and up, because of the serious nature of this discussion, not because there's no really violence or graphic anything discussed, no language or anything, but just you may not have really talked to your kid yet about those kinds of topics, or about World War II, about Japanese internment camps and all that stuff. So, but if you have, and they're like 8 or 9, obviously go ahead, I would recommend this book. It's really, of the books I've read so far this year, one of my favorites. It's really good. And it ends happily, which was nice, because that doesn't always happen. So it has kind of a fairy tale element in that too, I guess, because of everything kind of working out in the end. But it's still really, really great story. You really get involved in these kids' lives. So if you are a parent who thinks this would work for their kid, it's kind of a historical fiction / fairy tale sort of, then I would definitely recommend Echo by Pam Munoz-Ryan, and I'll have links below to the Amazon 8 books for that book. And of course you can find it at like your local library or something. So I hope that this has been helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye.